This is our now series from the self-inquiry. It is basically a self-inquiry, but we are hammering the delusion. Now, the way we hammer the nail into the wall or into any wooden fixture, we have to hammer this delusion. This delusion is pervading everywhere in our personal life, in our professional life, in our social life. And that is why normally we say, I am very touchy. Oh, really, you are touchy. I am very sensitive. Huh? I get hurt easily. So, those are the areas of our delusion. And just think, whenever we go to any school, whether we are learning art or science or any stream, what exactly we get from this formal education? What exactly? Oh, we get a certification, that's okay. But what exactly we get? We get a thought that contains the knowledge. We simply get a thought process, a chain of the thoughts, the way you can manufacture, you can prepare a watch, uh, you can make a semiconductor, you can be in a civil engineering. You get a thought process. You see the entire thought process, and that is what we learn in every school. And what we are learning, again, the same thing. We are learning the thought process by which we can get rid of the delusion. But if we don't apply this thought process, the delusion will never go. Understand that part. So, thought contains the knowledge. Thought is just a product of knowledge. So, we have to extract that knowledge. So, there is a process in Eastern wisdom. We say that you have to listen, you have to repeat listening, you have to contemplate, you have to reflect on it, followed by the practice, and we change. That is what we say the awakening takes place. Now, you are an architect, so obviously it is a thought process. Look at it. So, it's not a big deal. So, what normally we do in the very beginning, like it is like a crazy prosecutor. Why the prosecutor is crazy in this case? The prosecutor was there, and there was a criminal, and defendant lawyer is there, defense lawyer is also there. So the prosecutor lawyer started talking in favor of the criminal. He spoke for an hour. And defense lawyer said that, what are you doing? You are speaking in favor of my client. Prosecutor said, this is my first argument. Why I did all these arguments? Because you will be presenting the same argument. And now I will kill all the arguments. Now my real debate is coming on. The same way we do it, we have to hammer the delusion at every point in our life, in our personal life, in our professional life, in our social life. Are you getting it? So we have to act as a prosecutor. First, we go in favor of the delusion. Why? We have to understand each and every aspect of our delusion. That how the mind deludes us. And that causes the stress, that causes the anxiety, duality, and a conflict. Otherwise, there is no reason to be anxious. Are you getting? So once we go very deeper, and then we say, oh, it's a delusion. It doesn't exist. Honey, I will live for you and I will die for you. A great delusion. No one lives for anyone, no one dies for anyone. But think for a while. We all are expecting to hear these thoughts. Don't tell me lie. We all are ready to, oh, if someone says, I will die for you. Are you getting it? So we live our life consciously. No one dies for us, no one lives for us. But it does not mean that you go back to your family and you say, no one dies for you, you just cut their argument. Yeah, I have to contemplate and reflect inside. It is not that you go back and, honey, the beard guy, I love this master who told me that no one lives for anyone and no one dies for anyone. Then you are creating a more problem to yourself. It has to be understood. The fact is that no one lives for anyone, no one dies for anyone. Internally. Because when you feel that the delusion is gone, now the real love has come, and now you express the love to your honey, to anyone. That is where the spirituality begins. That is why Jesus said, love thy neighbor says, you love thyself. So like a prosecutor, we go very deep into every area of where the delusion takes place. And we get rid of the delusion by a thought process, and that thought must follow discernment and dispassion. And then you continue the practice. Why you continue the practice? So that the knowledge is not only retained, but it is realized. So when it is realized, delusion is gone. What is left is the real self. Now ask yourself, why we are scared? Why we are scared? Why we feel lonely? Loneliness means that I am expecting something from the world outside, which I did not get it. That is why I feel lonely. I have a lot of expectations inside, in my mind. At the emotional level, it causes the emotional dependence. At the intellectual level, it causes the likes and dislikes. At the level of the intellect, I don't like the habit and attitude of this guy, so that's why it is better to keep a distance. It's a delusion. Think of this, my friend. So we are just contemplating and reflecting. I have yet to introduce this text, which is known as Hammer the Delusion. And he comes up with such a painful, it will be very painful to your mind. If it is painful to your mind, find out it is a delusion. So don't get upset with me. Well, I'm teaching from the text. The master is teaching. That has yet to come. So what we say in our normal life, that comfort zone, where we want to protect we have to guard, we normally guard our emotional dependence. We guard our intellectual fantasy. I have already discussed that. We guard our intellectual fantasy. Why? Ask yourself why. Because I have a more faith in the emotional dependence, in that fantasy, instead of I have a faith in the principles of East and West. That is why we have to listen and learn, listen and learn, listen and learn and contemplate until the mind realizes this is a delusion and I have to drop this delusion. Lack of faith pending inquiry. There is another reason that at the physical level we get an instant pleasure. So that builds the comfort zone, And once it strengthens the comfort zone, then we have an emotional dependence. And then we have an intellectual fantasy. We all live with that idea. But if that intellectual fantasy becomes my attitude, my way of life, I have to suffer. My honey should always appreciate me, should praise me. And maybe your honey is very humble and he says, okay, or she says, okay, if he or she is expecting to praise and appreciation, let me continue to appreciate. And one day, by mistake, he or she doesn't appreciate. Then what happens? Are you getting it? You might have experienced that in your life. You cannot say no. I know it. You cannot say no. We all have that kind of a delusion. I know you cannot say no. And on the other side, if the near and the dear ones always is critical, we always want to keep a distance, we don't want to learn from them. You see, this is what happens in the intellect. This is the fantasy. I'm still laying a foundation of this text, more to come. Now think for a while, it is the thought process. Oh, this guy is not appreciating me or criticizing me or appreciating me or praising me. Should I take it as a fantasy or emotional dependence, or should I understand it? Should I understand it clearly? So when I understand means I leave aside the likes and dislikes in my life. I leave aside the emotional dependence, and then I really understand it doesn't affect me. So now the delusion is not affecting me. Are you getting it? It comes because unless the knowledge is retained in the intellect, it has to be realized in my daily life, then it works. If you don't work on your mind will continue to delude you. Why? What is the, now you see after prosecutor says everything in favor of the delusion. So what is the defense? No, what is the prosecution says to prosecute it? How we prosecute this delusion? No one is responsible for my sorrow and happiness in the world. Whether it's a relations, whether it is a situation, whether it is anything else. Nobody is responsible for my peace and happiness. Finished. But simply making that statement will not help unless we go through this process. Did you get it? I have to contemplate and think. Not get carried away. My son may say anything, my daughter may say anything, my honey may say anything. Situation. But if that thought process is not retained in the intellect by regular practice, discernment and dispassion, nothing is going to change, my friends. Majority of you say that, I constantly contemplate throughout the day. Yes, that is a good way of living. Because I have to get rid of this delusion. And this delusion has been living with me since my birth. Where you feel the pain or so-called suffering or so-called the sensitivity or so-called, no, I am very touchy. So save yourself from COVID, you are very touchy. I'm not, as hard as this master is. So once we pick up those verses, then we will say that. Understand where you are touchy and sensitive, there the delusion is. They're the delusions. Can I say, in other words, find out every day for 5 minutes a particular situation, a person, or a relations whose thoughts are constantly coming to your mind, whether the one has appreciated you or criticized you. There you are touchy. You have to get rid of it. You are in a delusion. Otherwise, why I have to think about anyone? Are you getting it? Say yes. So this delusion, we cannot make our mind healthy until we remove the cause. Now you see, we are still going, digging deep inside until we remove the cause. Oh, you feel bad, I'm so sorry. And then you talk to your friend, look at this crazy guy. I had to say sorry. So I have not removed the cause. It happens. It happens. If it happens with us, I'm still living in a delusion. Now I wanted to avoid the fight and altercation, so I said, I'm sorry, but that impression is still living in my mind. I have not removed the cause. Did you understand that point? I have not removed the cause. So my sleep will be disturbed. And then I keep on thinking, and when you keep on thinking about that person, you have to throw it out. Like we throw the food out because of some infection. We have to throw it out with someone. The master says you have to remove the cause. You have to make the mind healthy. You can make the mind healthy until only when you remove the cause. What is the cause? You see that I'm putting the argument against the delusion. We already know all this movement of the delusion. So one master says that mind has a wrong capacity to derive false pleasure and pain from a situation, from a people, from a relationship. Mind. Everyone is looking at me, possibly, if I say so. And if my mind says, oh, look at this guy, how he or she is looking at me, she is staring. This is not good. Wrong capacity of the mind to derive false pleasure and pain from a situation, from a relations. Are you getting it? That puts you in delusion. Look at this guy, he always hugs me, but today, he is not paying any attention to me. So you're seeking attention. Very good. I'm an attention grabber, so that is also a part of delusion. Think of it, hundreds of examples. It happens every day in our life. The moment you have an anxiety and a duality, a sense of conflict in you, it is because of the delusion. You don't agree? Question. We are going to remove the very cause of the delusion. So there is a very deep impression in our mind since our birth, by the culture, by the society, by our learning, education, that we don't recognize there is a wrong capacity, the wrong power to derive pleasure, pain from a situation, people. We don't recognize this. And then also at the so-called the personal level. I'm in pain because I did not sleep last night. So I carry that thought, I strengthen this thought when I wake up in the morning, and then obviously the thought brings the result. Well, what happened if you didn't sleep one night? It's a very deeper delusion. We will talk in detail. We have to take a flight at 1 a.m. We don't sleep. We don't get a thought that my sleep is disturbed. That is a bit higher level of awareness. That is what we are discovering. And it can be understood, it can be discovered. I cannot sleep with the light on. But after sleep, I don't know whether the light is on or off. I can give you hundreds of examples. You know, you look at the very thought process. Once you understand this, you are free. So say your honey wants to sleep with the light on, and you always like to sleep with the light off, and then there is a problem. No, okay, no, I will sleep in another room. But if you don't have another room, then we'll see that. Unnecessary, small issues. We pick up the small issues. That is why repeat listening and learning, contemplation and reflection. I can tell you, I can give you millions of examples. I can write a 1,000-page book on this deluded thoughts. And once you understand this thought is causing the delusion, it is gone. It is gone. You know, today I have a lot of thoughts during the practice of meditation. Did I ask you to pay attention to the thoughts? A very subtle level of delusion, that we will talk about. Very subtle. I'm saying pay attention to what I'm saying. You are entertaining your mind. I don't want to say otherwise, you know, you will not share your experiences. So that is also a problem. So our role is very delicate. So now no one will say that I have a lot of thoughts, even if you have a lot of thoughts. Then you are not changing. That is another delusion. So one delusion over the second delusion over the third delusion, and it builds up an Eiffel Tower. It's very subtle. We have to hammer the delusion. It's a very subtle process. We have to understand, we have to constantly contemplate and reflect. So no, you have already argued against the delusion. What is you have in your favor? I give an example of prosecution and the defense. So Master says, extract the peace and happiness from the real self. Never forget. Extract that peace and happiness from the consciousness which never changes, which is behind my anxiety, which is behind my duality, which is behind my emotional dependence, which is behind you and me and every situation. I'm conscious of a situation because of the consciousness. Not very subtle. Now you already all are seekers, and we have already undergone the self-inquiry. I am conscious. That is why I am aware of a situation. I am conscious of you. That is why I am aware of you. I am conscious. That is why I am aware of relationship with you. So Master says, extract peace and happiness from the real self or from the consciousness. Extract the pain also from the real self. Why? You will learn how to endure the pain. Don't derive pain and happiness and suffering from anyone outside in any situation in the world. Because it is not there. It is a delusion. It is a delusion. But don't stop saying, honey, you make me happy. But why you are saying it? Because you are expressing that peace which is coming from you. If you don't express, you will be in problem. Now, honey will say, no, you see that how much care I do, and still, there is no response. The way, you see, you keep the false I, the role of the false I is minimal. The role of the real I is maximum. Maximum. So let us dig a little deeper inside. Why this delusion is constantly haunting me, even if I have understood that anger has no place and hesitation has no place in my life. Anxiety, I know anxiety is bad and still I become anxious. I know being touchy is not good and still I become touchy. That happens in our life. Everyone, including me, have some areas, very touchy area. And there we have a delusion. Delusion means false capacity, power of the mind to derive or expecting to derive false pain and the pleasure. Both. Look at this guy, his come, I hate this guy. Now you are already ready. Your mind has already created a situation. Oh, I love this. Oh, I was looking at you and you have not paid any attention. And unless that guy says, I'm sorry, then you are happy. Ah. We are wise, Now we are wise fool. We are wise fool. So our master says a lack of faith in the principles of Eastern wisdom. Why lack of faith? Because I'm not committed to follow this path. I feel as if I'm looking for an instant pleasure. Instant pleasure again takes me to a comfort zone or a reaction. So here be very clear. Lack of faith does not mean that you blindly believe it. We have been explaining and understanding everything rationally, intellectually. We are finding the cause and effect relationship. So lack of faith is because I'm not committed, so I don't do the repeat listening. I don't apply these principles in my daily life. And that mind, it has already a wrong capacity, so it catches you in a particular situation in your real life. You lose that awareness. Another series of the delusion starts. Second point. No, this is the first point. So when you contemplate and reflect, the intellect now retains that knowledge. Practice helps you to realize that knowledge. Second part is that you have to convince the mind through the intellect that nothing is good and nothing is bad in this world. My master has been very straight and blunt. I don't want to go into that. I remember we will take up that issue. No, can you point out which organ in the body is so bad and still we keep it? I'm just pointing to you. You have to know that. I'm not saying it directly. Can you tell me, we have 9 holes in the body. Which hole gives you some good stuff? Maybe a good fragrance? That's why we have to brush our teeth. We have to clean our eyes and ears. Still we keep it. Nothing is good and bad in this world. Our mind should contemplate and reflect and perceive the world as it is, without any preference. Then only I can get rid of this delusion. Otherwise, the delusion will continue to cover you and it will cause you the problem. Second problem, we do not get the guidance as much as it is needed. And that is why we have been continuing this journey for a couple of years. We have a will, we have a commitment, but we don't get the guidance at a very subtler level. That is what we are going to do. In every session, we are going little subtler, subtler, subtler. So I used to say that I'm fortunate enough. I lived with my master for 26 years. It is only because, you go subtler, subtler. You understand? You pick up every thread of the mind which causes the delusion, you remove it. Why you experience that freedom. And then obviously the fourfold step that we have: discernment, dispassion, discernment, dispassion. And then we experience that sense of the calmness all the time. We experience that sense of the calmness. So once you start experiencing the change in your life, you have broken the comfort zone without any pressure. Without any pressure. You have already dropped it. You feel that they are melting down. Now you are very sensitive to your real self. Then you are touchy or sensitive to the people, the situation, and the relations. What happens to the mind? Mind enjoys that freedom. That is the result of hammering the delusion. Close your eyes. Eyes are closed. Being comfortable and being carefree. Our goal is to awaken to that real self which already we have in, but with a clear understanding, without any blind belief. We understand each and every layer of our personality, habit, attitude. So check yourself. You are comfortable and carefree. You understand now being carefree, lane 1, lane 2, lane 3, and also being comfortable. Being comfortable means being, not becoming. Being carefree does not mean becoming. What it means? You are extracting the comfort from the real self. You are extracting being carefree from inside. See, I'm giving those thought process. That is the entire education. Whether you have a formal education in the universities outside or here in Eastern Wisdom. Now we already know. Sarvesham swastir bhavatu. This is also a thought. Sarvesham swastir bhavatu. Sarvesham swastir bhavatu. May there be happiness for all. Do you really retain this knowledge all the time? In a waking state until you sleep? That thing will surely happen in your life. I can bet you. Because you all are seekers, including me. I'm also a seeker. So instantly the mind goes, everyone is looking for the happiness in the world. including my near and the dear ones, or with whom I have differences. So they are not learning the Eastern wisdom. I'm learning. I have to acclimatize and adjust and endure. If anyone can be in the state of happiness, means what? First, you recognize the happiness in you. So what happens? That delusion. What is that delusion? The reaction drops. But reaction drops by understanding, not by pressure, not by force. That will be another delusion. Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu. Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu. Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu. Sarvesham Shantir. May there be peace for all. Follow the same logic, same thought process. That if someone has come, why I have a relationship with the people who met me 20 years, 25 years ago, it is only because of that attitude, that intention, which comes from this Eastern wisdom, that peace is the essential nature of everyone. Sarvesham, Sarvesham, Purnam Bhavatu, Sarvesham, Purnam Bhavatu. Sarvesham, may there be completeness in all. Do you see that every time I change the interpretation? And that is what I told you. Entire journey of knowledge, whether it is material knowledge or knowledge of the self-discovery, results into awakening, lies in changing the very thought process in a particular manner depending on a particular discipline. You see how our masters make it very simple. No, I'll keep my hatred against you, but I want love. Not possible. That is delusion. Sense of completeness in all. Sarvesham, Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu. Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu. Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu. May there be an auspiciousness for all. So are the mantras changes the thought process? Yes, after removing the delusion. That is why they are known as the mantra. That is why it is not known as the counseling or the psychotherapy. And now look inside the forehead. We'll continue with the same stuff and then we will change it. So look inside the forehead in the space, pick a point in the space and drop Om Shanti mentally and start chest breathing, quick, short and gentle breathing with an expansion and squeezing of the rib cage. Gentle, short breath, Om Shanti, steadiness in the body. You're carefree. That helps to remove the delusion. No reaction at all. Continue, my friends. Keep on, continue breathing. Continue breathing. Continue. Continue. And stop it. Recognize and accept the changes. Also go back. You have done the 4 minutes, have become a new normal to you. It is because of clear understanding. And now bring your awareness at the tip of the nose, each nostril. Check if the flow of each nostril is equal. If it is not, find out which has a less flow and keep on paying attention there. Why? We have to bring the flow equal by attention and awareness of the mind, bypassing that deluded thoughts and the impressions. And it happens. How it happens, you will prove yourself in the following sessions. It has nothing to do with the belief. Look inside the forehead again, Om Shanti, drop it there. And this time it's a longer breath into the belly, means the diaphragmatic breathing. So it's a little longer breath. Why? The lower lobes of the lungs are bigger than the upper lobes. So simple to understand. With that understanding, continue, my friends. Pay attention every time you inhale, expand your belly. Every time you exhale, squeeze your belly. And continue with Om Shanti, which has nearly become a new normal. What is new normal? In the mental state. This a longer breath and the hissing sound is there. The expansion and the squeezing of the belly continues with every inhalation and exhalation. Om Shanti continues. And stop it. Recognize, accept the changes, recognize the resistance, which tells us that how long we have to continue the journey of the breathing. And then bring your awareness on the flow of the nostril, watch, check, judge, which has the less flow. Pay attention there. And see that your awareness and attention on the nostril, which has a less flow of the air, continues. We have to increase the duration of this step in the following sessions, and you will discover it is 100% possible to make the flow equal just by an awareness. Then you will recognize how powerful this knowledge is. Because we are seekers. Now looking inside again, inside the forehead, Om Shanti. And now the third type, the breathing, in which you fill the belly and the rib cage. Very long, very deep hissing sound. Continue. Keep on, continue. And stop this breathing also. Recognize, accept the changes, and also retain the knowledge of any resistance that you felt in this type of the breathing, because that will help you in the next session. Now bring your awareness on the flow of the nostril, flow of the breath. Which one is less? Just pay attention there. What happens? First, reserve that you have a natural experience of deeper state of sensation, relaxation and stillness, and also the calmness and a sense of quietness. While you are paying attention on the flow of the breath, which has a less flow. At the same time, you have a deeper experiences of tingling, numbness, or maybe a sense of dissolving the body. Sometimes people take it as something out of the body experience. We will talk about that. It has nothing to do with that. Now look deep inside the heart, triangle of any color facing upward. Move the mind on each side of a triangle, dropping Om Shanti. Find a sync, moving clockwise and anti-clockwise. Once you see that, it's so natural and is sinking. Push the mind while singing Om mentally through the triangle deep into the cave of your heart. Mind seemingly stops. When you feel it is seemingly stops, drop the Shanti and you are already self-absorbed in consciously. What that means, we will understand that. Now, Japa Om Shanti on the 16 segments of a finger. And what you need to consciously experience is the mind's eye, mind's ear, mind's tongue, mind's skin. That is dropping Om Shanti. So you have bubbling, we have very live experiences where the mind goes, means on each segment it moves and you have a deeper sensation and experience. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Bring your awareness on the right hand, your awareness on the left hand. Lift your both the palms, place it on your eyes. Open the eyes inside. Know your experiences. Bring the hands down. We'll share our experiences. If you have any question, you can ask. How are you, Stephen?
I'm good, thank you. It was a good lesson. My thought that kept going through my head was the fact that basically delusion is perception driven by our desires.
Good.
And it becomes important to look at things as they are and not as we want them to be. And that would help this journey and anxiety and all those things that go on. Because of that and those thinkings, as we closed our eyes, my meditation was as it was. It was just, there were no thoughts, there was no distractions. It was just from one step to the next step, of moments of being extremely deep to moments of being aware, and it was very, very nice.
Beautiful. You summarized it beautifully. What we think we are, I have to find out if there is an element of delusion in it or not. Today I woke up at 3 and then mind will continue to repeat. Remember this. Mind, even for an awakened guy, the mind will repeat the same stuff. That is. So mind said, okay, 3, then what will happen? And the next thought came, thank you, God. You woke me at 3. Let me spend another hour extra in meditation. And you'll be surprised that I sat for meditation at 3:15. Instead of 1 hour, it went for 2 hours. Simply, it is a thought. The very first statement that I make in the beginning of a session. How are you, David and Jerry?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Very good. The lesson for me is it's if we develop habits like brushing our teeth or combing our hair or doing things like that around the breaking of delusion, life should be pretty simple. So
Yes.
Why not just work on habits that help get rid of delusion? Is kind of what my takeaway was from the lecture. And the meditation was very, very good, very deep. It's interesting. The first breathing you said was 4 minutes. When you said that, I felt like 30 seconds. It just felt so easy. And by the halfway through the japa, I was just like bliss, gone.
Such a beautiful. You see that when you have a clear understanding, it makes your mind totally absorbed into meditation. The practice becomes very easy. So normally what we do not understand, and then we practice meditation. So I appreciate, David, you also pointing out that it is so simple and easy. That is why the mindfulness is known as an effortless process. We are moving there. Very good. Thank you. How are you, Jerry?
Sir, I'm good, thank you. I like I guess I didn't like, but it resonated with me, the labeling.
Yeah.
And the how our daily life changes without labels.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it does go to simplifying and just taking each moment as it is.
As it is.
Instead high, low, good, bad, and that simplifies it, and then we can just bring our true nature to that moment. The meditation, prior to the meditation, I felt like I was congested. And then as we brought the awareness to the nostrils, I still thought that I was congested, yet it was almost like I bypassed that congestion because the airflow was equal.
Airflow was equal, yes.
So that was an interesting.
Yes. I will definitely, you brought it up, and that's where we can pick up another level of understanding with the flow of the breath. You may feel the congestion is there, but the mind and the prana, mind and the life force go together. And that brings the sense of equanimity in the flow of the breath. So that we will understand. And don't shy away don't shy of saying that I like this. So now your liking has no delusion in it. I have to use in a communicative language. Understand? I dislike this. So, but it is without a delusion. Dislike does not carry an impression. But it does not mean that, you start saying to the people that, it does not carry an impression, but I hate you. But that does not make a sense. We have to be mindful. So, how are you, Brandy?
Thank you. What Girish shared and what you just followed up with was kind of a perfect segue to my experience. I came in with a lot, like extreme congestion in the body and the head, and it had worked through it, especially with the breathing. But I kind of likened it to the way that delusion can just the mind, and you get caught on these things, and with the recognition for the lesson, right, is how you get away from it, how you clear it, right, how you clear the delusion.
Yes, that is why I started the series. I said hammer the delusion. So first I recognize where is the delusion is. So I recognize it and I hammer it. I gave an example that I woke up at 3. So just a thought process, and then you are totally absorbed into the practice. You move ahead. No, I still hate, my hatred is so long for the last 10 years, You are a special person. I know that. That causes the problem, That causes a lot of problem. How are you, Brandy? Oh, sorry, you have done. Barbara.
I'm very good, thank you. I had trouble sleeping last night, and but I didn't have any anxiety about it.
Good.
And so I did some meditation, and then I just rested.
Yeah.
And it was fine this morning. I wasn't even tired.
Very good. Very good. You see the approach. That is where I started the approach of thought process. The thought is filled with the delusion, and thought is taking me to the right knowledge. But for that, I have to be aware. I lose awareness. Why? That guy I hate so much, that you remember in the morning. And that is the problem. Dennis, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. And the takeaway for me from the lesson is that I have to keep reminding my mind that there are no good and bad things, that things are seemingly good and seemingly bad only because there's an false I who judges them to be either good or bad.
I like it.
I guess we all know it. We all heard it many, many times. But the important thing is to analyze the mind, because the mind all the time it divides. This is the nature of duality.
This is the nature of the duality.
It judges, and I have to just recognize this and know that this is wrong. That things are not good or bad. it's only my mind perceives them as such. Regarding the practice, what I noticed for a few sessions, the response of the body and the mind after the breathing is that there is a desire to yawn. It is not related to sleepiness or anything else. It just happens that I want to yawn for some reason.
No, it's wonderful. And the way you summarize, you see, that is why I told that why it is not happening, because we are not retaining the knowledge in the intellect to remind to the mind, no, don't go for delusion. Please, don't go for the delusion. And that is why our master says you have to repeat listening and learning, repeat practice, so that the time when then any challenge comes, you can instantly return to the normal state. You see why we are sharing the experiences, it gives a different perspective. And I also learn a lot from all of your experiences. Thank you, Dennis. How are you, Christina?
Thank you. I'm very, very appreciative for everyone sharing. It's helping me evolve. And I notice the more we talk about hammering the delusion, the more the delusion comes up for me. And in the practice, in the beginning, I had this sense of, I can't do this breathing, and some resistance and heat. And then I was able to ride it out and let it go.
Yeah, that is also a delusion that I cannot do it. That is why I never say before, you have done for 4 minutes, plus 4 minutes, plus 3 minutes. You see, because of the delusion, we don't know. There is no basis. And you keep on doing it and it happens. Yes, you brought out another new point that even we have a delusion in the steps in the practices. You see how deeper the area of the delusion is. How are you, Ashok?
So thank you very much, and I am good and fine, and practice was very good. And sir, delusion जैसे पेड़ की छाया पड़ती है ना, वो it is like that. It will remain in the existence always, but we have to understand the delusion only.
Beautiful way. He gave the metaphor, the way we see the shade, our shade of the body in a sun. We take the shade as real me. That is the problem. Beautiful metaphor. Beautiful. That is already very good. That's a deeper understanding. Sometimes you don't need to explain in detail. That's a good learning. How are you, Vaibhav?
Thank you, sir. Sir, I'm good. Mine was calm. And like mine was appreciating and thankful for that we are discussing about our subtler self. So whenever like something happens in the daytime, I can refrain myself, I can hold myself there, I can do wrong or they can act, how to act on this situation and be calm and peaceful.
Be calm and peaceful. When your dad, who is also my student, gets upset, you say, thank you, Dad, I will do whatever you say. Come out of that delusion fast. That is another way. No, they both are good. I'm just joking. So how are you, Sangeeta? We will not disturb Terry.
बहुत peaceful लग रहा है.
मनन करना है. We need to contemplate and reflect again and again to reach to that state. So I titled today's session, Master is addressing to all of us, including me, so that you will not feel bad about it. O fool, rise in love for the real self and fall in love fall in love with the delusion. That is the title of the book. Oh, fool, we all are. I am also including, so you don't feel bad about it. That is all for today. Thank you.
Namaste, sir.
Namaste,
Thank you.
sir.
Namaste, everyone. Thank you.